Hello and a very warm welcome to this very special episode of CareersLab. I'm your friendly careers consultant Raj Sidhu at UCL, and in this video I'm going to focus on your careers questions, namely 3 of them, and thank you everyone for sending those in. Firstly, a question from Nadia P, which is how to cultivate and nurture relationships with contacts who may be able to provide you with future opportunities. Next question is how to decide on a particular job. And then we have how to figure out career options after a particular degree. And that came in from both Ahmet and Andy. I'm really excited to get into these questions, so let's roll the intro and get right into it. First question comes in from Nadia P, and she asks, I have several contacts in mind from previous internships and placements. I'm wondering how best to approach these contacts. I want to express my interest in working with them once I finish my course. Should I have my CV and cover letter ready even though they're not advertising for vacancies or projects? Nadia, this is a great question. Thank you so much for sending it in, and I strongly recommend developing those relationships you have and keeping them very active. Now, there are a few different ways you can do this, but I have 2 particular favorites, and one of those is to pursue a mentorship relationship with those individuals if you would see that as being beneficial. And the second is to volunteer for them so they get a continued sense of your skill and how that skill fits in with their organization. Now, with mentorship, you can learn, develop, and receive guidance, and you'd simply write to them with an invitation to have perhaps an open conversation around it. While through offering to volunteer, you can continue to show your skills and how they fit in with that organisation. Now, both approaches, Nadia, have a mutually beneficial element, and this is crucial for building good quality relationships, because you do want to be building that relationship to the point where you can then ask for future graduate opportunities. Now, I don't necessarily recommend sending a CV or cover letter at this stage, Nadia, because maybe that puts a little too much pressure on the relationship before it's really able to bear it. Instead, perhaps write a short email asking for the opportunity to talk about ways you could continue getting professional exposure to the work that they are doing, and let the relationships grow from there. Good luck, Nadia. Let me know how it goes. Now, the second question is from an anonymous source and simply asks what factors to consider when deciding on a particular job. Now, this is a subjective one, and the answer has to start from you, listing the things that matter most to you in a job. We each have our own priorities, and it's critical that you reflect on your own. I might also think about the sensitivity of the role to a wider economic downturn, not because I'm necessarily predicting one, but more because that will dictate how nimble you potentially need to be in that role, and the urgency with which you develop contact and gain exposure to projects where you can perhaps show a slightly fuller range of skills. So think long term and think strategically. In the short term, I'd take the organisation whose job you're considering and find their page on LinkedIn. Head over to the right hand side, you'll see a clickable link to see all employees' profiles to get a sense of how people there are describing their roles. What adjectives or describing words are they using? And does it sound like they're getting to work on things that interest you? And are people staying in that role for a long time? Because that's definitely a good sign. Once you've done your online detective work, I recommend reaching out to 1 or 2 people and seeing if they might be receptive to meeting and chatting with you about their experiences there. It's one of those things that seems totally alien until you realise that virtually everyone is doing this, and it's just that no one's really talking about it. You're essentially trying to gather information on how broad the gap is between what the job can give you and what you want from it. Now, question 3 comes in somewhat jointly by Ahmet and Andy, and they essentially ask, well, what are the career options after pursuing a particular degree? I'm going to describe a process which works for every degree, despite the particular example I present, focusing on nanoparticle drug discovery. And this is exactly how I would go about it. Find UCL's page on LinkedIn, and then along the left-hand side, click Alumni. Now, this contains a database of over 167,000 alumni of UCL. Now, click inside the search area and use quotation marks for an exact search, and it yields a number of alumni. Click right to see groupings and career themes, and by clicking on specific profiles, you can get a dynamic sense of what they're doing. So Andy, using this technique, you can start to get a sense of what might be possible if you pursue that particular degree. But don't take it as a constraining dataset, because people are doing new things all the time. Thank you so much for your questions, Nadia, Ahmet, Andy, and the mysterious anonymous writer. If anyone wants to continue the discussion around these topics, feel free to do that in the comment section down below, or you can email me with new careers questions on absolutely anything at careers.marketing@ucl.ac.uk, and that question might well feature on a future Q&A video coming out in a few weeks' time. That's it from me for this week. I'll see you next time.